And this morning we're taking a look at the soft commodities market. Piet, thank you very much for your time. We saw wheat prices soar over 4% in trade yesterday, and that was after the US Department of Agriculture came out with their report saying that the production outlook was cut for wheat by 2.3%, which was more than what the market was anticipating. Now, this of course comes on the back of the droughts that we saw in Russia, and the market had been expecting a drop in production. What do you think this is going to do for wheat prices and wheat contracts going forward?
Well, first of all, we've known about this wheat crisis now for about 2 months. Remember last month, the International Grain Council came out with a figure of a drop of 13 million tonnes, and the figure that came out last night was minus 15 million tonnes. That's the production, and the carry-out has been reduced by 12.2 million tonnes. Now, locally, our prices have only increased by 30%, and overseas have increased by 80%. I think the rand has a lot to do with the cushioning of the local prices, and also the fact that we have already imported about 1 million tonnes of wheat this marketing year so far. So at the moment, not a crisis. Prices will go up, but we feel if the conditions continue overseas, it could be a problem next year.
And picking up on that, a continuation of the drought could prevent some regions overseas from starting to sow for their 2011 winter grain crop. So do you think that this continued drain on supply could continue into the future?
It could continue. There's a lot of uncertainty around. Okay, the Russian problem is a feed wheat problem. And lots of countries are now importing corn instead of wheat. And this should push up the corn prices. So it's not such a big problem at the moment. I think with the supply of wheat, the biggest problem is trade barriers between countries. Now, if you have export quotas, tariffs of trade, because there is enough supply in the world at the moment. Now, you've got the USA, they increased their production by 1 million tonnes, Australia, and also Argentina will be coming online next year.
Okay. And taking these global supply issues into account, are we going to see local farmers favouring wheat over maize in the coming months in terms of planting?
Wheat is a winter crop and maize is a summer crop. So unfortunately, due to the low prices locally, our crop is about 12% down for this year. So it's too late for the farmers to plant now, but next year they will more likely, depending on the world prices, will plant again. Probably much more than this year. If you look at it's about 570,000 hectares of wheat that was planted this year. This is the lowest on record. I think it dates back to the 1920s. So this was due to low prices on the world wheat market. But now it has soared, but it's too late for the farmers to plant now.
And are we going to see speculators jumping into the market now that we have these supply issues and wheat prices soaring, etc.? So in the derivatives contracts markets?
Yes, I would think that they already jumped in the market, especially the commodity funds in the States. But the hedges and the arbitrages, I think they've been in the market already, because this news is actually old news.
And the US Department of Agriculture has joined other government bodies in playing down the fear that the world is headed for another food crisis, much similar to the one we saw in 2007, 2008. Do you believe that there is a risk that we could head back to that type of situation?
There is a risk that food prices could rise, seeing that we have the problems in Russia, Kazakhstan, and the European Union. The crisis last time, you had the freight rates going up, you had the fertilizer prices going up. The freight rates are quite relatively low at the moment. Fertilizer prices are low. And if you look at the 2008 crisis, the price of wheat hit $13 a bushel on the Kansas City Board of Trade, and now they've only hit 7.5, Kansas City Board of Trade. So they've gone up 80%, but we don't think we'll get to those levels. Okay. To those crisis levels.
All right. Lastly, the JSE has introduced 3 new soya derivative contracts back in May. What kind of demand have we seen for those contracts locally?
These are Chicago-based contracts, and we convert per bushel or per ton or per pound into rands. They haven't taken off yet, but I think it's a very good option for our local farmers to hedge to hedge themselves on the world markets. It's a very good contract, but the corn contract, Chicago-based corn contract, has taken off, and a lot of the speculators and farmers are using those contracts to hedge themselves locally.